All right, so this is our Jefferson 107 farm. Um, I love this farm. When we acquired this was what still before green up. It was back end of winter, and the previous owners basically just did not farm it, even though it's very very good dirt down in this bottom field. They just didn't do anything with it for years and years and years. Um, we met and we got really lucky and met an awesome farmer, and he was just super open to doing whatever. So basically, year one, our plan was to let's plant every inch of this thing into beans to try and just get everything cleaned up and prepped. And then next year, we're going to layer in. They have cattle as well, so they're super open to alfalfa. So we talked about going in and putting alfalfa in once this was prepped this year, and it just looks like a different place. I mean, awesome. This particular neighborhood, there's not a ton of ag right here, and this farm here to the west and stuff is just all used to be some type of program, and it's all just gnarly, overgrown thickets and stuff like that. So by loading this with food, I mean this farm now is the core of food in this entire neighborhood. Um, I could keep going. I want to let Toby talk, but it's really cool because there's like this wood lot back here is just a super travel corridor in the rut. There's an awesome pinch back here in the corner. Up there at the end of the flat, we could probably shoot to some footage when we were in here. There's like, I remember this big oak tree, and it's like it's just such good rut funnel hunting up in there, and then kind of feels like a completely different farm up in there. We got some strategy ideas we'll show you up in there. Things kind of been working on them, but slam dunk situations over there. So I've rambled.
When the farmer met us over here, he was telling us that for 12 years, these people just were cutting bales off of it. It was nothing. So this whole bottom was just kind of blah. And now it's got 5-foot tall beans in it. And we actually had a really good year for moisture, which is why you're seeing the brown weeds out in there. They couldn't get in here to spray it here till just a couple weeks ago. But man, like Bobby said, we pulled up, like how cool that is to have just a little bit more cover to be able to get in and out of here and kind of keep people from seeing stuff on the road too. But there's a creek right through the middle of this that separates this tillable from the ridges that we were just talking about up there. There's a back hillside that now has beans on it.
That's going to be alfalfa, the hillside.
Yeah, we're going to leave beans off top there this year and then put it in alfalfa next year. And there's some cool fences over here that they used to have cattle on this side of the farm a long time ago, but the fences are still pretty stout. So we've got some breaks and some corner posts and stuff we're going to show you over there that are already good spots that we'll probably enhance. We're going to get some cameras running. We just put a feeder out, so we're pretty confident that we're going to have some giants show up here, but we'll keep you posted. We walked around here in the wintertime with our phones oohing and on and filming all these little spots, so we'll probably plug some of that into the video too. So we're down here at the other end of the farm, and as you look back towards the road, this whole hillside was in grass last year too, and it's in beans this year, but the plan is to put this whole hillside in alfalfa, and then maybe, like Bobby said, have a screen of Ascanthus that comes down through here and breaks the crop from the green, and then use that for ingress and egress to your box back here and create yourself a little honey hole spot here back on the wood line.
Yeah, green to grain at the end. And if you remember, there's also, there's so many things you can do, but with this farm, every farm is different and the strategy is different. With this farm, it's like there's no food around, so like just load it with food and you're going to own all the deer. And then, it's a little less micro strategy, than some of the farms we do, just because of the nature of there's no food around. So, but I remember there was a wicked spot right there. Remember it?
Yeah.
There was a trail coming out, I think, right there, and it got really steep in the creek.
The creek bends, and they cut in the corner.
Actually, that deer ran right into
that trail we're talking about.
Yeah.
So we were standing here a minute ago, messing around, talking about strategy, and a big deer stood up out of the beans in the bottom there. I just kept clicking pictures with my phone, but that's super blurry at like 300, 400 yards, but enough to see that he's got a significant antler on his head. we're up here in the middle of the farm now, on top of the hill. Again, all these hills are just grass. We loaded them up with beans. There's a couple of roads that come out of the timber. There's a huge block of timber that's on this piece as well. It kind of holds a lot of these deer. Try to pull these deer out of this wood lot, and we're going to leave standing crop right here on this top. Put a box out there so we can use the low spot in the field to come and go from the road. In late season, this ought to be a slam dunk up here for sure.
Yep. There's also a big deep ditch that goes in here, goes all the way down to the bottom, and there's a hickory right here that makes an awesome stand. I could see this being October. Just there, that wood lot's got all these south-facing fingers, and it's all really thick and just awesome-looking habitat. And there's old logging roads that go in on the flats, so a lot of those deer pile up and they get pinched out here because of this dip or this ditch. So I could see, treacle or natural scrapes right there. I could see this being an October slam dunker in that hickory to the north, northwest. Thermals pulling in the hills. It'd probably be a good idea to overseed this year. And and then there's another really good spot at the bottom because of the same ditch and the fences, the old cattle fences that come up and make that corner. So
there's a spot just inside here too that we talked about.
That
we got on a video on our phones. We were pretty excited about it too. We'll try to plug that in.
So it's like as sweet of a rut pinch as they get. There's a field that way on the neighbors, and all those thickets and stuff that we just walked through are there, connecting the woodlot, and the pinch comes down to the inside corner of that field, and this steep bank that goes down the creek, and it literally tapers to a triangle, to a 25-yard pinch right here. Again, a spot for a northwest or a straight west and a ladder in that big white oak. And then over here, that basswood probably for something easterly or straight south even, in that basswood right there. This is a spot where all of a sudden you look up in the rut and here comes what Iowa dreams are made of. Yeah, that's a classic hourglass bottleneck, funnel in the rut, and we picked out a stand, for like a westerly or southwesterly set where these bucks would be, cruising that cover and this cover and kind of using the theory of, downwinding all that cover. This farm, and as you go that way, we're probably not going to go in there this time of year, especially because that big buck just ran in there. But there's just, we'll cut to some of the pictures from back in the winter, but it's just
little overgrown, little pasture
thickets,
fields kind of hidden up on top of the hillsides. So it squeezes and pinches because of ravines and just fences. It's just
awesome.
There's like 2 or 3 slam dunk rut sits up on that hillside, just parallel the creek, and good.
All right, so this is kind of the plan as we go into next year. Next year, these big bottom fields will be ag. That hillside over there we were on, the alfalfa, and this is just, oh man. The hillsides would be alfalfa and baled, the green, and then that top would be crop if you wanted to fence it and then overseed it. And then if you want to get nuts with it, you could build a woven wire fence from that hickory all the way down to the pin oak. There's already a natural fence coming this way, and you'd have an insane spot right there with a blind tucked into that hedgerow that you could shoot right out of. You'd have a stand for the rut there when you could get a little more aggressive, the south wind. And then up at the top of that fence and that hickory, right at the head of that draw, this is what I'm talking about. This woodlot is all these south-facing structure and points, and it's all thick. So these deer would all filter up to this flat and out that opening, hit that tree coy, and be into this field. Talked about a box up at the head of that point. And then the last thing was this is that oak tree we talked about. It's on the downwind side. If I'm a big buck and I'm cruising this cover into this cover with like a southwest or a west, I would favor the downwind side, all that cover, and that's the tree that puts them in bow range, following that theory, thinking like a deer. So, and then all back here is kind of that area we were talking about. It's got all these little overgrown thickets in there, and these draws make these awesome pinch points for stands. There's an inside corner right there. I remember a huge oak tree. Just a classic rut funnel spot right there. This was another great spot where this creek was very steep, and there was an awesome tree stand location right there. I could see deer cutting the just outside, just on the side edge of the field in the rut, going from this cover to this cover. Awesome pinch. It's great, great farm.